Hi, welcome to the WOW session, Winning Client Pursuits, that we are sharing with our Diversifier Development Program. As I move to the next slide, I want to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Erin Hubbard. I'm a managing director at Accenture, and I've been with Accenture for about 23 years now. The first about a third of my career was spent doing delivery work, and the last two-thirds has been spent doing sales enablement roles. I'm joined by my good friend and peer, Catherine Orr. Catherine?
Hi, I'm Catherine Orr. I'm an associate director at Accenture and I've been here around 25 years. I spent about the first 15 years of my career working in delivery, so working to deliver systems and change management programs to our clients. And then I moved into the sales enablement area just about 10 years ago, working first of all as a proposal manager and then managing different aspects of our sales enablement team. So research, writing, graphics, and proposal management. And so today I work to supervise how all of those services are delivered across our South Market unit in North America.
Great, thank you. As Catherine and I were thinking about this, we've done these types of sessions in the past, and one of the things we wanted to focus on for this was specifically how you pursue various pursuits and how you invest your business development dollars. So, Catherine actually came up with this cool slogan for us. Wow! We're going to talk about how we wisely invest in these opportunities, how you can optimize your position as you go after them, and then obviously you want to win over the client so that ultimately you win this opportunity.
So let's start with the first W of the WOW, the wisely invest. And this is really based on what you need to do before you even start pursuing an opportunity. And it's something that we spend a considerable amount of time and effort on at Accenture. So we know that for every opportunity we're interested in pursuing, our clients, or rather our competitors, are also chasing the same client opportunities. So it's really critical for us to make sure that we start off by truly understanding the client. Now, sometimes we'll have a long-standing relationship with the client, so we probably know them pretty well. But that may not be the case always, or there might have been some changes in personnel of the client. So we need to understand how well do we know the client organization and indeed the client buyers who we really need to make this a compelling pitch for. So we need to think beyond just whether we are credentialed enough to perform this work, because again, our competitors are probably also putting up a strong case for why to pick them. We need to go beyond that and think about what makes us not just a choice or even a good choice, what makes us the best choice for this client. So we need to drill down into really why are we bidding this work and what we think our winning chances are. So to explore that further, we think about what are the specific win themes for this opportunity. Now, you may already be familiar with the term win themes, but in case you're not, or if you call it anything different, for us, a win theme means it's what's the kind of unique intersection between what this client really values and what they want for this opportunity, and what we offer by way of our own skills, experience, and capabilities. So it's not just a standard pitch about, in our case, what Accenture's great at, or even what we do in a particular industry. It has to be that intersection that's absolutely unique for this client and this opportunity. So think of it almost like, the tailored resume that, depending on what opportunity you're pursuing, you need to make sure it reads just a little bit different so it's compelling for that client. Then we think about what our story is. So think back to our capabilities, where we've done this before, the past performance, so to speak, and the credentials that we can stand up in support of why we're not just a good choice, but we're the best choice. And think about the team members that you want to propose for this opportunity. So again, we know the ideal situation here is where we've done this work before. We have a team that has worked closely together, complements each other's capabilities, knows each other really well. But that may not be the case at all times. That sort of top team may already be busy doing something for a different client and not available for this opportunity. So think about what that story is, and again, how that plays into, is this the right investment of your time and business development dollars? If you don't have, again, a great story coming together, you probably want to question, whether this is the right investment of your time and energies. So next, once you've sort of gone past who are we, well, let's think about what's getting in the way of persuading our potential client that we are the best choice. Which competitors are also going to be interested in this opportunity? And based on what you know about those competitors, know about the solution they're most likely to present to the client, know about where their own strengths and interests lie, can you compete against those? What can you do with any weaknesses in your own story that may not stack up as well as you prefer against competitors? So knowing all of that, then the big question to come back to is this a wise investment? Is this the right work to pursue? And it's a question that isn't asked just at the start, but actually throughout the proposal and pursuit process. We find at Accenture, sometimes we start off pursuing some work, but for various reasons, we may withdraw later on in the process. So staying open to re-examining this question and the investment of your time and dollars ongoing through the pursuit is really important. But if you think you've got the right stuff to bring it all together and make a very compelling proposition to the client and a good chance of winning, then that's when you go all in and you push forward to the next stage.
So to kind of summarize what Catherine was just sharing with us again, you want to make sure that you've done the due diligence. You've been honest and thoughtful about whether you are truly qualified for this opportunity and it is a wise investment for you. And as you do that, the takeaway from here is to create an actionable win strategy. How are you going to execute? What are you going to do in terms of every component of the procurement cycle? What is your solution? What is your commitment to the client's timeline? Are you able to do it in what they've proposed, or have they even proposed a timeline? And so you need to think through thoughtfully what you know about what this project will take to achieve it. And again, Catherine stated this, and we can't emphasize it enough. You really have to have those proven credentials and the right team with the right skills. Being honest and clear on what that is will help you decide whether you're doing this as a solo opportunity for your company or whether you might want to choose to partner with someone to have the right skills within the team. And then lastly, never forget or take your eye off that pricing approach. What's the best way to go about this? How might you solution this? Is this a time and materials opportunity? Is it a fixed price, etc.? What is the client indicated? Were they prescriptive? If so, certainly follow that. If they weren't, then what's your strategy? What's your pricing approach going to be? So that's kind of as you've done the decision to invest, you've done that. Now let's talk about how you optimize your position. How are clients going to envision working with you? What's going to make them pick you? They're looking for someone to partner with for this opportunity. There's a reason they've issued a RFP, a request for proposal, or some other form of request. Sometimes they come in a request for quote, etc. So why are they asking for you, and what do you think that you can do to differentiate and to optimize your position? How might you tailor that? Again, how are you differentiated between a competitor? Catherine and I may both own small companies and we're similar in skill sets and we often compete against each other. How might I have a different strength for this opportunity that perhaps her company doesn't have. You really need to be thoughtful in what are those things that differentiate you. There's also some very common mistakes. I'm sure we've all learned them over time, but certainly some top ones that we would recommend you avoid. You know, you One of the most common ones is when you don't answer or follow the client's structure. They issued that RFP in a way that was meaningful to them. We never know why, whether they've written it this way intentionally, whether it was someone's second or third job at the client to get that RFP out. But we really need to honor and respect the order and the sequence in which they've issued that RFP. Another common mistake that people do is just inconsistency of the materials that you present, and that's a reflection on potentially the type of quality you will deliver if you are selected to be on the project. So you really need to be thoughtful in not presenting different visual images, not having 4 or 5 different sort of themed decks, having things that are distracting or keep catching your eyes. You're reading through the proposal if it's just jarring. They do you start to think, our clients think about, that this may be how you present deliverables that I'm paying you to deliver. So, it's a common mistake we need to really avoid. Other common ones, things like being too wordy. They're not interested in that. They asked you a question and you need to answer that question. Another one that is common, unfortunately, is you are well positioned. You are the right company to be pursuing that opportunity, and you don't demonstrate that with your win themes and with your proof points. Why? Why select you? Why are you the right one? How do you credentialize yourself? How do you make sure that again these team members have the appropriate experience? In many cases, they do, but you're not articulating that appropriately in your response. You really need to work on that. And sort of the last common one we wanted to hit on today is the over solutioning. They may ask for a certain specific scope of work in this RFP, and that is what they're expecting you to respond to. You may have other thoughts. You may have thought they weren't breaking it up. You may think something's missing that they need to also address. There's the things you can incorporate into your materials, but first and foremost, solution to what they asked you. They're asking it for a reason. Respect that. And always, right, it must be uniquely relevant and it must be compelling. You're asking these clients to invest in you and to trust you to help them deliver a project that they would like. Make sure it's relevant.
Yeah, thanks, Erin. So, as you think through all of that, the optimize your position is really that execution of the strategy. And knowing that this is really where, again, that the engine at your competitors is also up and running. They're hopefully, considering all of those same factors, thinking those through, trying to put their best pitch together for the client. So it's really important that you, from the beginning, have that strategy right, have really examined what you can uniquely offer this client for this opportunity. That you're sure that you've got the story, the capabilities, the credentials, that in the execution of the response itself, that you're bringing all of that together. It's so vital to make sure that as you go through that material, that you are creating that compellingness, as Erin said. That's what it's all about. And so, certainly some proposals, it may just simply be on who's got the best price. And, again, that's a very important part of it. How you differentiate on price is also a big consideration in all of this. But all other things being equal, being able to tell your story, sort of jump off the pages, again, not just the choice or a good choice, but the best choice is what it's all about. So getting all of these factors together, making sure that you're following the RFP response, that you're making your story sing on top of all of that is what will differentiate you at this stage. And that tees us up for the final W in the wow, win over the client. And this is such an important aspect from start to finish because this is all about the relationship that you have with this client and with this client team. And the intent is that at every interaction that you are wowing them, you're acing them, you are making them think this is the right company, these are the right people. And more than that, I actually like working with these people. That's the ideal scenario. So think of it at every point as you're auditioning for this work. And that means from the beginning, thinking about how you come across, not just as, one speaker or a few different people who might interact with the client, but cohesively. How does this team engage? And this is one of the things that we've heard a lot about as the differentiator for why a client would select Accenture for a piece of work. So often it comes down to, I know this team is the right team for us to partner with. We kind of share the same vision. We're on the same page. I trust their experience and credentials. I see that they get on really well together. And on the flip side, some of the horror stories you hear are when a client is presented with a team and they literally don't know each other's names, and it's that it's obvious they just met that morning. So think about the client's perspective and how they will observe you and the team that you work with all the way through this procurement. A good tip as well is when you do have an interaction, no matter what it is, working together, working in sort of solutioning or discussing some of the challenges, or all the way through to orals itself. Think about perhaps aligning your own team to specific client team members if you're clear who those buyers are or who will participate in your orals or your client meeting. So think about it as, what happens when you have a coffee break. Think about who on your team should try to speak with which particular client or which client buyer. So think of every opportunity to continue to build on or form that relationship with your client. And the consistency is also important. Erin spoke earlier about the consistency in how you present your materials so that the formatting looks like it's coming from the same team, the same organization, not different colors and different fonts and a different look every single time they receive something from you. And likewise, the consistency of the message that you deliver in all of these interactions is so vital. So that's not to say, of course, that things don't evolve. We know that. We know as you talk to your client, as you learn from them, and you're listening to them all the way through, you'll probably learn some things that will adapt where you're headed. And that's fine. That can certainly be acknowledged. I think that's actually a great selling point that you're listening to your client and moving accordingly with their needs. But you want to ensure that you have that consistency all the way through. And the final major point here that we would say, and oftentimes as people in the service industry, we've got to be careful that our expertise and coming from a place of being an advisor to our clients is not misconstrued or indeed presented as arrogance. And that's something we need to be very mindful of because, again, we're trying to win over this client. We want this client to think these are people I would actually enjoy doing work with in these months or perhaps years to come. So think of it again as always seeking to impress the client. We want to be consistent, we want to be compelling, and really take that opportunity to win them over.
Exactly. And one of the other things I was thinking as Catherine was talking, one of my favorite examples related to consistency was just mistakes, sloppy mistakes in the proposal. We were actually bidding on a quality piece of work and we misspelled the word quality. Just cringeworthy, right? I mean, you're asking them to pay for this high level service and something as simple as a typo can just be so off-putting in that consistency and that experience. So again, stay laser focused. You are winning over this client, whether they're a repeat client, someone you've worked with for years. Don't presume that may position you better. It may in fact not. And again, you really need to think about it as an audition at every stage, at every interaction, whether that's a client workshop that you're participating in, whether it is the formal process, procurement process, again, whether you have the opportunity to do orals. Teams win at orals. That's the key thing we can share. When you speak as a unit, when you project that confidence, when you act as one, that's very special, and clients can understand that. They pick up when we don't know each other, as Catherine said. If you mispronounce someone's name that's there co-presenting with you, if you clearly, say this part of the solution means this, and Catherine says the exact opposite 2 seconds later, it's very off-putting. The client reads that, hears that, and it troubles them. You want to make sure things like being comfortable as well. While there's probably a very small percentage on this planet that like to speak publicly, you still need to feel comfortable. We need to make sure that the folks that you're proposing, those experts, are comfortable, that you've agreed to a certain style, that you understand the type of presentation. Is it a very formal, sort of buttoned up, appropriately dressed in suits opportunity? Is that the client's direction? Is it a little bit more of casual of an opportunity? Are you presenting in person or are you presenting via like a Zoom call? You need to understand those things and practice, practice, practice. And at the end of the day, the biggest takeaway is relationships matter. You need to make that connection and you need to resonate. So that's our tips on winning over the client. As we get back to in closing, Catherine and I just want to share a few more tips and tricks, right? We hope this is helpful to you. Use the WOW principle, wisely invest, optimize on that investment and make sure you are well positioned, and then win over the client. So we thank you so much for the opportunity to share some tips and tricks with you today. We hope it's helpful, and we look forward to potentially having some other sessions in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.